So yeah, I was looking around for research on the topic for people of my age group, which was roughly 20 years old, and there's unfortunately people who develop the bone condition at even younger ages because osteoporosis is a common side effect, some common issue faced by people that are anorexic. There's other conditions as well, but anyway, so looking around for solutions, looking around at my options, and finding the lack of research on the long-term effects of these medications, bisphosphonates, on the lives of younger generation people. Uh, for me, being kind of oriented towards natural processes of living and all this kind of thing, uh, natural means for living, I should say, and also being a biologist, studying biology and stuff, a lot of the medical research was pretty accessible. I think it's accessible to everyone if you have the desire to check it out, but that's the kind of material that I found myself looking at in this process. And just I was looking at the mechanics of how the bisphosphonates work, and I put a link actually in this video. I forgot the links for this previous video, but it's in the info section now. That essentially the bisphosphonates, one of the ways that they work is by, let me take a step back first. Your bone matrix exists in a system of constant turnover throughout your life, the rate of which varies for many reasons, but you have two main groups of cells which are called osteoclasts and osteoblasts that work to make your bone and also to break it down and regenerate it. And for instance, if you get bone scarring of any kind, if you break a rib, for instance, it's eventually why that bone scar may disappear, because you have the building up of bone by osteoblasts and eventually the reworking of that bone with the combined efforts of osteoclasts that break down bone and the osteoblasts that build it back. Hormones tie into this process very much because, especially in females, estrogen and progesterone are tied integrally to the use of calcium and other minerals in the body and the maintenance of our bone density. So all of this exists. All of this is part of the process, and bisphosphonates, from what I've read, what I believe I remember, is they inhibit the activity of the cells that break bone down while promoting the activity of bones of the cells, the osteoblasts that build bone. And in concept, this is a great idea. I'm not trying to say that that these medications are evil, that they're a bad idea, that they're any of this thing. And actually, in older age groups of people, for instance, my grandmother developed this condition as well, and she's on bisphosphonates currently, and she seems to be having a fine enough experience with them. I think it's a very person-dependent thing for many reasons, but mostly here, whatever you feel comfortable with is what you should be doing. But I think that those choices have to be made, informed, and I don't always think we're given the full picture of our options when trying to make decisions. So just for me, with that knowledge, I'm like, okay, this seems fine, but this is also a really long-term effect. This material is going to stay in my bones for who knows how long, probably at least a decade, and is changing the natural bone building and bone reworking process. And I read later, it's also described in this link by Medscape today, that the long-term effects of using this technology or this process to build bone density, essentially just increasing your bones growing while not having the osteoclasts present to rework, or present or as active, I should say, to rework your bone within that process, that you actually, okay, you may be building your bone density, but you may not be building back your bone integrity, like the collective vitality of your skeleton, which, your bones are not just meant to be dense things like blocks of cement that you use. It's like a biological matrix, the optimal health of which provides you with the optimal health of your bones, of your flexibility, your resistance to fracture, and all of these kinds of things. I'm not sure how many people will actually even find this information useful or relevant, but hopefully some of my fellow recoverees are from this disorder, and maybe some in the elder, you know, the older age groups may find this information useful. But anyway, so the point is that there were the options of using these drugs, and for me, with what I was gathering, I was not completely satisfied with what was given to me as an option. So just kind of made sense. Okay, for me, at least, I could address the hormone issue. I could address the nutrition issue, get more of the minerals that are required for my body to build bone into my body, which I needed anyway. I was severely underweight and, needed to be healthy anyway. Do those things and to start exercising in a healthy way, not being destructive and all this stuff, and adding things like strength training to my cardiac training. A lot of anorexics, I believe, but I'll just speak for myself. We can involve ourselves with a lot of high-intensity workout that gets our heart rates up, can help us burn calories, this kind of thing, which is, exercise is a great thing. It's an important part of being alive, but it can get out of control and be destructive too. So, but anyway, strength training is a really great kind of exercise too, in addition to cardiac-based or cardiac-geared exercise, because it can help your body build not only muscle, but the bone around it. If your body is feeling like the need to be strong, it grows strong. It's an interactive process. So I started to apply these kinds of things to my life. I got a physical trainer, which was really, fortunately for me, it was convenient. I lived on campus at this time, and so I had a free membership to a gym that exists there. And there was a really sweet woman that, kind of took me under her wing and said, okay, this is how you and your tiny little frail self can start exercising and in a healthy way and start building your body back. And so collectively, using exercise, therapy, good nutrition, which I did seek and use the assistance of a nutritionist. I just began to take multivitamins, including calcium and vitamin D, which are very important to your bone building process. And within 1 year, I increased my bone density by 85% from my original scores. So I believe my final scores, this is, I think, 2 years ago, maybe a little more now. I haven't had them checked since. During this 1 year, I developed normal body weight and many other situations that were relevant to my health concerning anorexia and stuff were healing. But yes, I increased my bone density by about 85% in 1 year. So final scores were negative 1.5 in my hips and negative 1.6 in my back, which is essentially borderline osteopenia, I believe. And this is before I even got my menstruation back, which happened about 6 or 7 months after I got those scores. So it was really great news. And getting my sorry guys, but getting my period back, getting my hormones working again was another experience. And in my belief, I should have pretty normal bone density at this time. I should get it checked again to make sure that nothing has gone wrong in any way, but I don't believe it has, and I think that in itself is a really big piece of the puzzle. Just having faith that, hey, if nutrition and perseverance have come this far, if I've only been improving like those efforts through time now, I feel the best that I have in my memorable life right now. So at least on that end, I feel great. I'll cut this off now. The video is gonna